Day, everybody. I am here. It is time for us to do our training. I have changed the time a little bit because I wanted to facilitate some other things, make sure people had an opportunity to get coffee, all of those fun things so they can get this good information in the morning. I am your host, Patrice Malloy. I am a fractional CFO and tax strategist. I am America's favorite tax strategist and your business BFF. And I am here to talk to you about some financial mistakes that every entrepreneur should avoid. Now, I was originally going to talk to you about revenue and invoicing and things of that nature. However, at this point in time, I don't think it really matters, quite honestly, because there are some people who are not at that place in business and they need some other guidance, information, references, etc. So that is why I'm going to talk about those top financial mistakes that entrepreneurs should avoid. And rightfully so, because it is tax season. Tax season, as everybody knows, tax season does officially open up on January 23rd. So I hope you have everything that you need to get that process going. So let's jump in. So when I talk to clients and when I talk to friends and colleagues and just other people in different professions and in the business arena, one of the things that they wish that they knew, quite honestly, when they started was how to structure their business. And that's rightfully so, right? A lot of people don't understand how to structure their business. If you start off by yourself, you're a solopreneur, or you have a doing business as name, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are at a point where you have structure in your business, you have a foundation, you're at the point where you have enough revenue coming into your business where you pay yourself, you're going to have to change the way that your business is structured for a couple of reasons so that you are in compliance with rules and regulations of your state, your Secretary of State's website, etc. And I also want to make sure that you're in line with the tax requirements of that particular type of business. So one of the things I highly recommend is to take a look at what it is that you're doing, the type of business that you have. Is it a product business? Are you doing e-commerce? Do you have something like um, maybe a salon, but you also sell products in it, that type of thing? Are you a course creator, a coach, consultant? You need to figure out how that is, how you're going to set that up. You also want to understand what the actual employee structure is going to be. If you're working by yourself, you don't have the same rules and regulations and requirements as you do if you are working with other people, contractors and employees. So that's another thing that you want to keep in mind and really think about before you just jump into business. And you also want to be able to understand how you're going to grow and scale your business. Do you have the plan to have investors in the future? If so, you're more than likely going to want to be set up as a corporation, right? If not, then you don't really need those types of entities formed because you're not going to be giving, money to shareholders, and that's not something that you really have to worry about. Otherwise, you definitely want to get that put into place. So I highly recommend speaking with somebody who can walk you through that, who can guide you through the process, who can help you set up the appropriate business formation or entity structure in your state. Now, once you figure out how you want to be set up, you also want to figure out where you're going to be set up, right? Not every location, state, country, etc., is created equally. There are states where there are no taxes, there are quote unquote loopholes like Delaware, Nevada, etc. I don't necessarily recommend it. I think you should definitely want to have your entity headquartered in the same place that you're actually located, where you reside in, just because you don't want to have to be set up to pay foreign entity taxes in a different state if that's not where you actually reside, right? We don't want to be double taxed in these streets. That's one of the ways that we sit there and make sure that we are being strategic about our tax situation. We are not falling into the trap of other people who don't have that same type of mindset and who in reality don't have those same types of benefits. So think about that, right? So how am I going to be set up? You also want to think about your name before you go out and set up your entity. You need to make sure that the name is even available in your state. Sometimes they're not, and you definitely don't want to try to set up a name, get in trouble, and then have, a cease and desist letter come to you because somebody else has already claimed that name and they feel like you are infringing upon their copyrights, trademarks, etc. So do your research. Go to the Secretary of State, look at all of the different entities and make sure they don't have the same name as you before you spend all this money, before you create all your business cards, before you set up a website with this information, because it could very well be taken. And that's not only a disappointment, but it is a money pit, right? We don't want to lose our money. So that's one of the things I definitely think you should really focus on. Setting up your business entity appropriately, making sure it is formed in the appropriate state, and then making sure that you don't have any kind of copyright or trademark infringement because of the name that you have chosen. Okay. So that's the first thing. I think another thing is once you have all of those things set up, is to make sure that you create a business profile. A lot of people are not aware of the fact that you need to have a business profile set up so that you are seen as a legitimate entity or enterprise, right? If you were looking to do things like get vendor credit, do business credit cards, do loans, or any kind of um, enhancement to money in the future, you have to be looked at as a legitimate entity. They have to be able to find you. So you want to make sure that, like I said, all of your information is set up appropriately at your Secretary of State. You want to make sure that you have your business phone number set up in 411. You want to make sure you have a legitimate website. You don't want anything that looks janky or suspect because financial institutions do look for that stuff, and they want to make sure that everything is consistent across the board. Like there should not be one name and one address and one location of the internet and then another name and address or a combination of the two and another location of the internet, right? They are checking the interwebs. They are making sure that you're legitimate because they do not want to give their money to somebody who's not actually you. And one of the things just that I've found and knew just because I worked in the banking industry is that if all of those things are not in alignment, they automatically look at that as fraud. If it's fraudulent, there's no way you're getting money. And the thing is, a lot of people don't even know that. They don't know why they're being turned down or disapproved for credit cards, for business loans, for working capital, right? For things with Stripe and PayPal, etc. And that's because you are not set up in a way that is trustworthy to these financial institutions. So that's the second thing. You definitely want to make sure that you are seen across the internet in a way that is legitimate. You want to be shown as an enterprise in 411. You want to have a legitimate number. We're not talking about Google Voice. We're talking about an actual number. So you can do things like get Ring Central. You can do things like get Nextiva. There are a lot of different types of voice over IP, VoIP, business phones that you can use. Or if you have a physical location, just make sure that you register that actual phone number in 411. Okay, that's number two. So once you've gotten all those things up, you've set yourself up for success with your business entity, you're looked at as a legitimate business entity and 411 and with all the financial institutions, you want to make sure that you are tracking your income and expenses appropriately. A lot of people start off and they think that they don't need to track these things because there might be a lot of revenue, or maybe because they don't have a lot of employees working for them and they don't have any contractors. But the reality is, you need to be able to make sure that you can track all of your income and expenses. That's how you can understand the overall health of your business. You also need this information so that you can create your financial reports, like your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement. You need this information to be able to forecast for your business. And when I say forecast, it means identify key performance indicators, KPIs. If you've ever been in the corporate world or project management, program management, you need to understand things like product costs, your average customer order, how you're going to price your services to make sure that you have a profit that is enough of a margin to make sure that you're able to pay yourself and then pay others. So these are things that you definitely want to identify. You need to make sure you have these things in place. You need to make sure you have them solid before you start just doing business all willy-nilly. Okay? Have these things in place. So a great accounting software could be QuickBooks Online. It could be Xero. It could be Wave. It could be Bench. It could be any of these items. But you do want to make sure that you have something in place. So again, you can track your inventory if you have products. You can track the cost of your services and the revenue from the sales that you've made if you have a service-based business. You need this information, and you need to have that for tax time so that we understand how to appropriately do your Schedule C if you are a solopreneur or a single member LLC, your 1065 if you're a partnership, your 1120 S or 1120 Form C if you are a corporation or an S corporation. So you need to understand this, okay? Very important. A lot of people are missing out on this, which means they're missing out on not only the opportunity to take advantage of tax deductions and credits that are available to you because you're an entrepreneur, but you're also probably getting yourself in trouble because you are not stating your income appropriately. And the IRS does not like to chase their money. They want to make sure that you are reporting all income appropriately, accurately, and in a timely manner. Okay. So that's the third thing. So again, we want to make sure that we have our business entity set up appropriately. We want to make sure that we are seen as a legitimate business on the internet and in the eyes of any financial institution or regulatory agency. You want to make sure that you have an accounting software in place so that you can keep track of your income and your expenses. Another thing you definitely want to have in place is insurance. If you are a brick and mortar business and you have employees, you need to make sure that you have insurance for your employees. In the event that something happens on site, you want to be covered and you want to make sure that those employees are also covered on their end if they have to go to the hospital or if something else happens or they're unable to work. You always want to protect yourself. You also want to have errors and omission insurance if you're a service-based business. You want to make sure that if you happen to give improper guidance or something happens or, the wind shifts, in a different way and the stock market falls, that you are not being sued for giving people bad advice, right? You also want to make sure that you have insurance that covers cybersecurity threats because we all know that these things are real. How many companies and corporations have you seen that have been attacked? How many emails have you received saying, oh, my bad, somebody got into our database and your social security number and your personal information has been leaked, right? Very costly and it can be avoided. So get that taken care of, right? You want to have these things before you have a problem rather than after you have a problem. So your insurance. And I'm going to say number 5 too. You also definitely want to have a clear budget. A lot of people think that budget is a nasty word. You can call it whatever you want, a template, a reference guide, um, whatever it is that you want to refer to it as. But the reality is, we all need to understand where our money is going. We need to assign a place for every single dollar and cent in our business and in our personal lives, right? In the business, you need to pay taxes. Set aside money for your taxes. You know that you're going to need to have to pay yourself. Set aside money to pay yourself. You need to have money for a rainy day because there will always be a rainy day, right? Something's always going to be happening, excuse me. Maybe there's a situation where sales have, you know, shifted and you're not able to cover payroll for the month. You want to have money set aside for those types of situations. Maybe something happened to you, you became ill and you were unable to work and, go out and create more sales and revenue. So you have that money to help float you. Maybe you need to order additional inventory. So you have a working capital fund that's just handy. You have vendor line of credit that's handy for you if something like that happens as well. So making sure that you have those things in place is going to be so important to the success of your business. And so that starts with having a clear budget and a clear idea and path of where you want to go in your business. We have where we are, we've got where we want to go. And in between is that gap, right? That's what the budget helps you to figure out. What do I need to do to get from point A to point B? We need to make sure that we're paying ourselves. We need to make sure that we're saving for retirement. We need to make sure that we have a rainy day fund because, like we said, something's always going to happen. Unexpected expenses. Like we had something happen in our home. The daggone toilet overflowed and it ruined the carpet. It flowed down into the kitchen and it messed up the daggone ceiling. The lights were messed. It was a whole mess, y'all. And it was right before we were supposed to go on vacation. So didn't plan for that. Was not expected by any stretch of the imagination, but we had to handle it. Thankfully, we were able to do so. So again, something will always happen. Just make sure you're prepared. So have that in order. Again, budget is not a nasty word. If you want a template, I'm happy to assist you with providing a template, some guidance. If you want to have a conversation, if you want to help with identifying things that you should be saving for or looking out for, I'm happy to talk to you about that too. But you want to have that in place. So let's just summarize really quickly. We talked about the 5 things that entrepreneurs should avoid as far as mistakes are concerned, right? We want to make sure that we set ourselves up appropriately as business entities. We have everything structured appropriately. We want to make sure that we are set up as legitimate businesses and business owners in 411 directory at the Secretary of State on the internet, because again, people, not only financial institutions, but people look for your information and it's public knowledge. So again, make sure you have that information. And let me just say one more thing. Because it's public knowledge, you don't want to set your business up with your home address. Okay, get a business address because people can come to your home. Okay. And not even that, you want to make sure that you have some separation between your personal assets and your business assets. And that's probably a whole different conversation, but that's when we talk about estate planning and having a trust in place, which is like your irrevocable living trust, which is like your black box, which is like where you put all of your assets in and nobody can see it, right? You don't want things assigned to you personally because people can take that. So, like I said, another conversation for another day. But again, make sure that you have your business set up appropriately, make sure it's structured appropriately, make sure that you have a clear understanding of your income expenses, what you're spending money on, what you are bringing in so that you're able to plan, forecast, project for the future. I don't know about you, but I plan in quarters along the lines of the 12-week year by Brian P. Moran. Great book. I highly recommend that you read it. But you want to make sure that you're meeting those goals, revenue goals, personal goals, business goals, finance goals, whatever it is, each quarter, so that you can then move to the next goal and the next level of your business so that you grow and scale. So having that information in place. So again, you want to have that. You want to have a clear budget so that you understand what you're doing with your money. You understand how to get from point A to point B. You want to make sure that you have something in place in the case of an emergency. And you also want to have your insurance. I think I might have said that out of order, but you get it, right? Top 5 things. You want to have insurance to protect yourself, your employees, your business, and your possessions, your assets, right? So you want to grow, invest, and protect your money. So these are things that I highly recommend for new employees, people who have actually been in business, or maybe somebody who is restarting their business. Highly recommend you get those things in place. Again, it's Wednesday. It is the training. I wanted to come and talk to you all about those things. We had originally decided to talk about revenue and invoicing and the importance of having the proper metrics in your business, but I thought it would be more fitting to talk about some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make because you could very well be making these mistakes and you may not be at a level in your business where you really focus on those reporting metrics or the power of invoicing or how to grow and increase yourself. So we'll do that for another day. All right. So it's been a pleasure. I love speaking with you all. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop it in the box. If you're watching this live, do hashtag live for me. If you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you. You guys have a fantastic day. All right. Have a fantastic day. Rest of the week. Talk soon. Take care.